Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I hope you're all doing very well. So I just watched The Grey Man on Netflix. Let's talk about it. So The Grey Man is directed by the Russo brothers, known of course for their work in the MCU, as well as a bunch of stuff that they've been working on since then. By the way, they were executive producers on Everything Everywhere All at Once. So like, these guys have been working. These guys have been doing bits, okay, after their work in the MCU, and I'm happy for them. And of course, because of their amazing work in that franchise, I was super excited to see what they would come up with for The Grey Man, especially considering that the cast features a lot of MCU alumni, including none other than Christopher Jamal Evans, who here is actually the villain of the story to counterpart Ryan Gosling's protagonist. So I was super excited for The Grey Man, and I ended up being super shocked to see the response that this film got from critics. This film was panned pretty much by critics for some reason, but I am here to tell you right here, right now, that they were all wrong. They were all wrong. Do not listen to these critics and reviewers, apart from me. Apart from me, okay? Don't listen to the rest of these guys. This film is good. This film is excellent. Like, I have no idea how they came to the conclusion that the film was bad. They're incorrect. Like, they need to recalculate, because that conclusion is incorrect. I don't know what they're talking about, and we are going to be discussing my thoughts and feelings on The Grey Man in this video. But before we dive into all of that good stuff, as per usual, if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to my channel and make sure you turn on your notifications so that you can be told when I upload next. But now, without further ado, let's get into my thoughts on The Grey Man. So speaking of Marvel, as I mentioned, this movie features quite a few Marvel alumni. We have Christopher Jamal Evans, who's a co-star in the movie, but we also of course have the return of the Russo brothers, who directed the Avengers Infinity War and Endgame movies, as well as their OG MCU movie Captain America the Winter Soldier. Now I wanted to highlight this one because this film feels more in vein with Winter Soldier than any of the other MCU works that the Russo brothers have done. This film kind of feels like a spiritual sequel to the Winter Soldier, although set in an alternate timeline where Captain America is evil as hell, evil as sin, okay? But I really like that. I really like the feel of this movie, the vibe that it went for. And we do have some familiar faces elsewhere as well. Like, we have Henry Jackman returning to do the score for this movie, as he did the score for Winter Soldier and for Falcon and the Winter Soldier as well. I do think that the score in this film wasn't as memorable. I think the scores for Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Captain America and the Winter Soldier were really, really impactful and memorable. Some of my favorite scores in the MCU. But here we don't really get that same magic, unfortunately. But he did return to work with the Russo bros once more. And we also get the return of Marcus and McFeely, who also worked with the Russo bros, this time the capacity of writers. They were the writers behind a lot of the MCU's biggest successes, like Captain America the Winter Soldier and the Avengers movies. So yeah, Marcus and McFeely are very well known within the MCU franchise, and it's really cool to see all of these guys kind of come back, reunite, reassemble as it were, to create this Netflix movie. Now, another massive shock that I got when it came to this movie was the budget. Now, I understand that we have the reassemblement, the reassembly, we're seeing the reunion of a bunch of Marvel alumni coming together to create a Netflix movie, but I figured that because it's going to be dropping on the netflix.com platform, that we're not going to be getting something as huge in scale as a Marvel film, right? Well, I was wrong. This time I was wrong, because the budget for this film was reportedly $200 million. How, what, when, where? How, what, when, where? Netflix was spending money these last couple of years like it was no one's business. Between this and Stranger Things season 4 costing $30 million per episode on average, Netflix was really making it rain over there. Netflix was making it rain for these creators, especially the creators that they liked, the filmmakers that they really wanted to attract, and clearly the Russo bros were two of them, because they gave them pretty much carte blanche on the budget, and it shows. You know, the film definitely benefits from this humongous budget. I don't know if Netflix is going to benefit from it, but the film certainly does. It looks extraordinary. It looks cinema worthy. I think it's such a shame that this film had such a limited release in theatres, because I would have happily gone to see it in the cinema. I live in London, and it was literally so difficult to find screenings for this film. Like, I'm in London. Literally the closest screenings were like in Leicester Square, which, boo, who can be bothered to go to Leicester Square? Or my other option was to go outside of London. Like, imagine having to go outside of the capital of the UK to go see this film. That's ridiculous. That's absurd. Okay, so yeah, they needed to have, you know, a bigger release in theaters. Obviously there is that difficulty with Netflix, because cinemas don't want to release their films because they know that the film is going to be dropping on the platform like a week later, so it's not worth it to them. But if Netflix had released it, you know, theatrically maybe a month in advance and then dropped it on their platform, I think that would have been okay. Other studios are doing something like that, especially like Universal, and I think it would have deserved it, because they clearly, you know, the Russo bros set out to create an incredible film here, and I think they achieved that for the most part, especially visually, so it definitely deserved a theatrical release, and I think it's a shame that it didn't get one. So yeah, as I said, when it comes to the technical elements of this film, it really does stand out, especially in the Netflix movie roster. I mean, we have some incredible action sequences here. It's just like full on impactful action sequences, and that's another reason why it gave me Winter Soldier vibes, because they really tried to give us just these extraordinary action sequences, destroying the whole of Central Europe destroying the whole of Central Europe in the process. But man, the sequence in Prague, oh my god, that whole city will never recover. It will never financially, culturally, historically recover from what happened in this movie. But boy, was it a sight to behold, to see this entire historic city be destroyed, be flattened by Ryan Gosling's Six. And we also saw some incredibly impressive hand-to-hand combat sequences as well. You guys know I love me some good hand-to-hand action sequence. Oh, I love me some good hand-to-hand brawling. I just think it's so much more impactful and exciting. You really feel it, and you can just see like the choreography, the fight choreography was just so well done here, and it just made for some really just invigorating action sequences overall. So whether it be the special effects and, you know, the action set pieces that they had with the car chases and the tram and everything, or just the more intimate like hand-to-hand combat scenes, the action was done spectacularly well in this movie. And it's a predominantly, you know, action-packed movie, so this is the big draw when it comes to a film like this. So for me, the fact that it was so exceptionally carried out and executed gives it points at the very least, like already before we're even getting into anything else. I also noticed that the Russos really injected their own, you know, cinematic flair and vision in this film, not just with the action sequences, but the camera work as well. Whoever their DP was really going at it was really doing the most, okay? And I think like it benefited the film because it made it feel more dynamic, like the camera would be moving around. We had all these creative drone shots, like it felt like they were really trying to do something different and unique and more inspired than the average action flick that we get dropped on Netflix. Now I will say though, as much as I enjoyed the technical elements of this movie, cinematography was great, CG and VFX were awesome for the most part. There were a few wonky scenes, but otherwise definitely theatre going worthy. All of that was really, really great. But in the end, the one thing that did let the film down was the story. The story was weak, I can't lie. Like, as much as I want to create this like the grey man propaganda for you guys, the story was weak. Okay, I could tell. And here we have, you know, Ryan Gosling's Six at the center of this story. He is an ex-con who was recruited by the CIA through Billy Bob Thornton's character, and they had this special Sierra program which meant that these ex-cons could get a second chance at, not at rehabilitation, but at being free, I guess, if they fought on behalf of the CIA and went on these like super secretive missions, to the point where pretty much no one knew that they even existed. There was no paperwork surrounding these agents, but they were there operating, until unfortunately the program was taken over by Denis Carmichael, who's portrayed by Roger Jean Page. We'll talk about it later. And he wants this program to be killed. Like, he wants to get rid of all of these agents, and so he is quite literally taking them out one by one. And at the beginning of the film, we see that he has reached Sierra 4, who 6 is targeting, until of course they have that interaction where 4 is able to give 6 that little, you know, drive, you know, the classic, you know, microchip drive, whatever, the MacGuffin of the film, which has some secretive info about Carmichael's operations, what really took for him to rise up the ranks in the CIA so quickly in only 8 years since he graduated from Harvard. So that's the kind of premise of this film. And on the side we also have the Logan storyline, where we have 6 being tasked with taking care of and rescuing a young female character. We have seen this many times at this point. many times at this point. Okay, like, if you want to get a sympathetic young character, it has to be a young girl, okay, because otherwise if it's a young boy we won't care. Is that what Hollywood is telling us? I don't know. We have this young female character who has like heart problems as well. Like, it's really deep. Like, they're really trying to get us to care about this character. But 6 ends up having to go rescue her after she is kidnapped by by mustached Chris Evans, aka Lloyd, who sucks, in order to draw 6 in and return him to the CIA along with the chip that he stole. So yeah, overall it's a pretty basic storyline, especially within this genre. Nothing too shocking here. You could pretty much tell what was going to happen from the jump, but I would say that it was executed well. It was definitely acted well. The cast did an exceptional job here. And I think that overall, you know, the simpleness of the story didn't detract from the amazing action sequences. The story was just there to facilitate the action. Let's be real. And that's how it works in this genre anyway. So I don't know why these critics are acting all shook, like they've never seen an action movie before or another film in this genre before. Like, we know that these plots are designed to facilitate the action, to facilitate the good stuff that we really wanted to see in this genre movie. But whatever. All of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm shocked it's not a touching drama about love and family. What? Like, shut up. Shut up. That's not what we want right now, okay? This isn't the time or place for that. But yes, even as a proponent of this film, even I have to admit the story is weak. It's bog standard. And I think the biggest issue that I had with the story was the characters' motivations. They were all over the place. The characters' motivations were all over the place. I mean, we had like Ana de Armas's character who really cared about that young girl. Oh, she really cared for some reason, to the point where she was willing to risk like everything. She was willing to throw it all away. She handed back the chip to the CIA, to Suzanne, who, you know, then disposed of it. And that chip held crucial information about the CIA's illegal activities and Carmichael doing crazy things in order to get ahead, all under the direction of some mysterious old man who's in charge of everything. You know, that had crucial information that she just handed back to Suzanne and Carmichael. And for what? For this little girl? Like, she's like a trained CIA agent. Like, she's used to making these calculations of, you know, risk and rewards. Like, one little girl could be put in danger, but it could potentially save the planet. Like, it could potentially, you know, save the world, expose the CIA's nefarious means, and actually make a huge difference. Like, I feel like she would have made that mental calculation as a CIA agent, and for some reason she goes against that and decides to save this one child at the end of the film. I just didn't think that motivation was clear, and her actions fit the character. And another character whose motivations were kind of blurry and unconvincing to me was Lloyd Hansen's, Chris Evans's character. I didn't understand why he was so devoted to carrying out this mission by any means necessary, and the reason that they give us is quite flimsy. The fact that he's a psychopath, sociopath, the fact that he had this like pride to him by the end. Like, by the end he just wanted a whole brawl because he had something to prove. He had a chip on his shoulder, and so he couldn't accept the fact that Sierra 6 was just so skilled and so powerful and would actually win against him, so he decided to just F it and just take this personally. That wasn't wholly convincing, you know? I mean, we needed to get somewhere, and so they made up a reason for why it was the case, but it wasn't a convincing reason, especially because the only real advantage here was to Carmichael. Like, the reason why this whole mission takes place is because Carmichael wants that chip back in order to conceal all of his like wrongdoings and nefarious means that he's been getting up to. So like, why is everyone else so invested? I guess it's because it could look bad for the CIA. But like, I would throw Carmichael under the bus. I would say that he was a rogue agent, you know, working on his own. I'm sure whoever's in charge of all of this would say the same thing if it came to light, and as would Suzanne, because he's a dickhead. No one likes him, so no one would stand by his side. So like, throw him under the bus instead. But regardless of the shortcomings of the writing of this movie, I still think that the cast did an exceptional job. I loved seeing Christopher Jamal Evans portray this evil character. I think he had a blast doing it. I mean, ever since he portrayed Captain America for like 35 years, he's been loving portraying these like villainous characters, and he did so even before Captain America. In Scott Pilgrim, for instance, like, he's always been a bit of a dickhead, a bit of a jackass, but here, like, he really went full out to the point where he even had the evil mustache, and he had the, you know, crop trousers, the skinny trousers, the chinos, and the loafers. Like, he really went full out dickhead mode, and it was satisfying as hell. He also committed to the action sequences still. Like, it's almost as if he forgot that he no longer has the super soldier serum. All of these characters have taken some temporary V, especially Ryan Gosling's Six. Six is insanely powerful in this film. It makes no sense. Listen, you can throw sense and logic out the window for a good 2 hours and just have fun. It's ridiculous, you know, the fact that he survives all of those action sequences, the fact that the laws of physics aren't obeyed. Like, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that, okay? He's good at everything. He was able to solve every problem. He's the best assassin that the CIA ever had. Let's just accept that and move on. I wonder who would win in a battle between the Winter Soldier and Six. Because, you know, logic would state that the Winter Soldier would wipe the floor with him. But this movie, this movie has me thinking otherwise. I think that Ryan Gosling was incredible as Six. I love this character. I love the fact that he was mostly subdued and, you know, kind of down to earth. Like, he wasn't a wacky caricature of a character. He was very Jason Bourne, but he had like these one-liners that were perfectly delivered. And here's the thing, it very much echoed the like Marvel formula of having these like quips, and which makes sense because Marcus and McFeely are Marvel writers. But I don't think all actors can deliver on the quips, you know, in Marvel films. Take, for instance, Benedict Cumberbatch in the Doctor Strange movies, or in Spider-Man No Way Home. He doesn't deliver the Marvel quips as well. I don't think it suits him, or perhaps not his character. And maybe it's also because those jokes are just dead, like they're poorly written. They're not written by Marcus McFeely. So yeah, I just don't think it works for him. But in the case of Ryan Gosling, like, he just delivered. Like, his comedic timing was perfect. His dry humor was just excellent. Like, he really delivered those clips so well. So I really, really love the character of Six. I think he is more than equipped to handle his own franchise. Like I said, I really want there to be a sequel to this movie, perhaps one with a lower budget. Netflix, maybe they won't go all out this time around, but it definitely deserves a sequel, and I definitely want to see more from Ryan Gosling's Six. And in terms of Regé-Jean Page's Denny Carmichael, he was a little bit iffy to me. Like, he felt very much like a broad kind of mastermind villain. He didn't have as much nuance to him as Chris Evans' Lloyd did. But I would say that he was, pretty good. Hopefully in a follow-up movie, we'll get to see more of him and get to understand his motives and backstory a little bit better. But in the meantime, I would say that, he's got some good foundations to work off of for any future installments. And Regé-Jean Page is always a delight to see on screen. Like, let's be real, this cast is very attractive all around. And then next up we have the ladies, Jessica Henwick as Suzanne and Ana de Armas as Miranda. Danny Miranda, apparently. I didn't know her name was Danny, but it says so here. And the ladies were great. I think that they look kind of similar. Am I the only one who thinks that Jessica Henwick looks similar to Ana de Armas? I feel like they look like they have one common parent, like they're half sisters, but then the other parent is from a different ethnicity. And I think they both did a really great job, especially Ana de Armas, who was like really kicking ass out there, and she had to go through all of those action sequences along with Six. She was being thrown around. Sis was being yeeted around, especially in that hospital sequence. That was crazy. I think that she and Ryan Gosling had great on-screen chemistry. I think they worked really, really well together. Like I said, I wasn't the happiest with the motivations of the character in the end, where she handed over the chip in order to keep Claire safe. I was like, no offense to Claire, but like, we've got bigger fish to fry. Suzanne killing Lloyd in the end, I was like, absolutely, absolutely. I knew the second that Lloyd told her to sit in a corner that something was gonna happen. Like, if justice was to be done, something was gonna happen to Lloyd, and it would be by Suzanne's hand. Absolutely. No one tells Suzanne to sit in the corner. And then we have Billy Bob Thornton, who portrays the kind of recruiter of this whole Sierra project that the CIA used to have like 18 years ago. And he ended up forming like a bond, like a really strong bond with his recruits, including Six, who ends up being the last one, I'm guessing, in the lineup. And so yeah, like Six takes over for him when he dies in battle, in the sequence in France. And yeah, now Six is taking care of his niece. What I will say though about Billy Bob Thornton's character is the torture sequence. Guys, this is a PSA. This is a public service announcement. If you guys watch my videos regularly, you'll know that on occasion we'll have a PSA intended for everyone watching, okay, but also spread the word, because we need to address this society-wide. We need to address this, okay? So this is a PSA that goes out to the world, okay? Let me make this abundantly clear right here, right now. I do not want to see any more nail-pulling sequences. No more. No more. I am henceforth banning any nail-pulling torture sequences. I have had enough. I do not want to see that depicted on screen anymore. We're done. We're done. You're done. I'm done. We're all done with this trope. I get it. He's being tortured. We do not need to see his nails being peeled off or torn off of his nail. But it's literally one of my least favorite things in films or TV shows. I really hate it. Put the pliers away. I get it. They are being tortured. I understand what is going on. It's horrible. It's dire. But we do not need to see that. I am abolishing this right here, right now, okay? This and seeing people vomit on screen is now banned. Spread the word. Spread the word to all these filmmakers who don't get the memo. But otherwise, I must say, I had a fun time with The Grey Man. The film was good, as I said. The actors were superb. It has an amazing cast that look amazing as well. The action sequences were bomb as hell, and I wish I would have been able to experience this on a big screen like a Mission Impossible or James Bond movie. But as it stands, I think it's one of Netflix's best offerings, especially in the movie realm. And so with all of that being said, I'm going to be giving The Grey Man a 7.5 out of 10. So that's it from me. Ooh, it's such a hot day. I've been filming all day. That's it from me. Now that I told you guys my thoughts on The Grey Man, it's time for you guys to let me know what you thought of this movie down in the comments below. Please be sure to subscribe to catch new videos coming up, and also be sure to browse on all of the videos that I've been working on this past weekend, because it's been juicy, okay? But thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it as always, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.